Okay, it's 1:02 p.m. and for respect of those that have already joined, I think that it is time to start. Good afternoon to those who have joined, and thank you for attending. A couple things about logistics first. You will be muted during the call, but so I do encourage you to please make this a conversation. If during the call at any time you want to ask a question, please put it in the chat. Sorry. My colleague who is hosting the meeting will read it out loud, and I will attempt to reply. The call will be recorded, and afterwards we will put it online and send you a link in case you find anything interesting you want to hear again. Again, thank you for joining us today. It's 1 p.m., 1:03 p.m. Central Standard Time. And the last thing I need now is my cat to decide to break into the call. I apologize. She's been quiet all morning. Now she got wants to be part of this conversation. My name is Pierluigi Stella. I am a CTO and one of the founders of Network Box USA, a managed cybersecurity company based in Houston. We've been here for 17 years now. We started in March 2003, protecting mostly banks and credit unions. Most of them are in Texas, as it probably is normal because we are based in Houston, but we have many of our clients across the country. We do cater also to other industries. Second, primarily, it would be healthcare, but in financial institutions, after 17 years, remain our main focus. So let's get into the presentation. Our lives have been disrupted by what has happened with the coronavirus. And we found ourselves having to deal with a workforce that all of a sudden is mostly at home. Most of our clients have at least a good 40% of their workforce at home. In some cases, they have their entire workforce rotating at home. So at any given day, 60% of them are working from home, and 40% are working from the office, and then they rotate. I don't know if they rotate weekly or daily, but they rotate. Therefore, IT people have had to deal with a host of problems they never thought they were to deal with. And because of the service they provide, we have been there to support them and learned with them a lot of things that hopefully will be useful to you as well. I am quite sure you've heard a lot of this stuff over and over in the news, in writing, in articles, in blog posts, in many different places. I'm hoping to put this together into one place and offer maybe some food for thought of things that may not have occurred or that would be hopefully useful. Because we've been doing this for the entire month of March, April, and May, I know this comes 3 months into it. Some of the things you may have heard already, but it's okay because reiterating and rehashing sometimes just gives you the idea of, am I doing it right? Are other people doing the same way? Could I be doing this differently, right? So the first thing that we found investigating what is going on with this is that this isn't something that is going away. Right? We have given our users the cake, and now they don't want to let go of it. So apparently 43% of people who are now working from home want to stay home. Because once you savor the beauty of getting out of bed, putting some water in your head, getting in front of the screen, and that's your commute, it's kind of difficult to let go. There are downsides, and part of this presentation towards the end, we will go into those downsides from a personal standpoint, but for the most part, most people like this new arrangement. And as a matter of fact, the reason why it's not higher than 43% is probably because there are downsides, right? So there are also people who say, well, I'd rather go to work than go to the office than stay home. But 43% is still a high amount. And that's enough of a force behind this new arrangement to make us think we should be prepared to deal with this for the rest, not just for the rest of the year or for the next 2 years, but as a constant normal arrangement. This is how in many companies, things are going to be. Think of it from a company perspective as well. All of a sudden, 40% of the workforce is working from home. You need 40% less office space. An office downtown Houston will cost you $50 per square foot per year. So, an employee requires at least 50 square feet, right? So you start saving $2,500 a year per employee. These numbers can add up. So there is also consideration in terms of the board of directors and the C-level people who are going to look at the numbers and say, well, maybe this is a good idea. We should have done this before. Technology, we as technology people had prepared the field for it to happen, but it wasn't to be embraced for many reasons. Tradition, lack of confidence, that people would actually work from home and not go and take a walk with a dog. Many other reasons. But now it happened because it was imposed on us by other circumstances. It turns out it's okay. We're actually producing. We're not 15-year-olds. We understand the circumstances and we are responsible people. We can work from home. So maybe, and probably more than maybe, this is not going away anytime soon. Okay. So what are the issues that we have seen? And I'm sure many of you have seen this already, is, if nothing else, in the news. An increase in phishing, an increase in malware, accidental loss of data, and unprotected backups. Right? These are the largest security concerns. Now, a couple of them are surprised me. Increased phishing, increased malware. Why? Your users are still using the same email they were using from the office. They're still connecting to the same server. They're still filtering to the same filters, hopefully. Therefore, why would phishing and malware increase? That was not determined by circumstances of working from home or by the users or us security people doing something wrong. It seemed that it was more determined by hackers trying to take advantage of the situation. In the first days when all of this started happening in the US, we saw an enormous increase, like 300%, in phishing and malware attacks related to COVID. To the point that I actually sent out an email to all our clients saying, please tell your employees that if they get an email purporting to provide the greatest information about COVID, they should ignore it. They should go to the web and get their news wherever it is that they get the news. Because if you're a fan of Fox or if you're a fan of CNN, they all have the news all the time. That's all they've been talking about for 3 months anyway. It seems like the rest of the world has come to a standstill. So there is no shortage of news about COVID. The last place where you need news about COVID is your email, right? And that is what we believe has led to an increase in phishing and malware infections, which once users have learned to ignore them, or companies have learned to filter them more properly, the problem kind of disappears, we're back to normal. However, we have tossed these users into the home, often all of a sudden, without a proper plan. So without procedures and processes. And I can't speak for everybody, but I know for one thing that in my case, 3 years ago, an auditor had asked me if I had a pandemic into my disaster recovery plan, and I sort of pooped them off, like, what are you talking about, pandemic? Right? Because our disaster plans are all based on the possibility of losing data or losing access to the data, losing connectivity, a server that blows up, the building that blows up, because they all descended from the catastrophic events of 9/11. very few of us were ever actually thinking that we would be in a situation where the computers are just fine, but the humans aren't available, right? Which is the situation we're in today. And, and therefore, we didn't have plans to say, okay, if I am working from home, now how do I backup these machines? How do I transfer data safely? How do I communicate with my clients safely? And so forth. It seems easy, seems like, okay, take the tools and bring them home. Well, but not for everybody. And I've talked to many of our clients and noticed that their perspective and their approaches were different. Hence, the reason why I put together this presentation. Well, how do you stay safely connected? Clearly, there are different choices, right? But in my opinion, the best ways that it comes down to two real choices. So something like Citrix or something like a VPN. Now, in the case of a VPN, one of the conversations I had with clients is, should I have a split tunnel? Should I have it, everything go through my firewalls? I don't think that should even be the question. If you have the traffic from home and you want to really protect it, it should go to the same devices, to the same rules and policies as if all your users were in the lab. Right? You can't split the tunnel and allow them to roam and browse the internet at will without any control, any policies, any proxy, any filtering, and then filter them only when you try to get into the office. It's not safe. The very reason why you install a proxy in the office is because it's not safe. So why would you not do that from home, right? So the VPN, one thing that I really recommend if anybody hasn't done it, is do not adopt the strategy of the split tunnel, because it just isn't the right way to do it. You go off of the few policies you may already have. In theory, you should continue doing HTTPS decoding, right? You should continue doing the same things you were doing before. You need to consider the LAN, the VPN as, from a policy standpoint, as the LAN. Okay? And by the way, I am of the opinion that the LAN is not a trusted environment. So we always adopt the policies that are very strict in terms of what can be done from the LAN out. Our system even has something called a infected LAN IPS to watch the outbound traffic, because we really cannot trust the LAN. So why would we trust the VPN? Right? One thing that I would like to point out in terms of the VPN, it is not the same as the LAN from a functional standpoint. When you're communicating, you're in the LAN, you're communicating with your servers within the same LAN. You're not going probably to any protection devices, any filtering. And you're probably also communicating at 1 giga, if not at 10 giga. Now you're home, right? First thing that happens is the downloading data from the server is actually, cannot go any faster than the upload speed of your best internet connection. This is something that apparently wasn't clear for many people. And if you have an asymmetric connection, like a Comcast user that gives you 600 down, but 30 up, your users from home are going to be using the 30 up to extract data from your servers. It is a consideration that needs to be made. There is not as much security, a security concern, but rather a functionality, a usability concern. But it's important, because users, when they can't get to their data, they get frantic and they start doing things that may end up causing security concerns, like copying data elsewhere, moving them where they shouldn't, and breaching policies and against security policies. And another thing to be considered, that I hope all of you have already considered, is why is it 2020 we're still discussing about the function, the reason to have multi-factor authentication. I discussing two-factor authentication at a credit union conference, probably actually the one organized by Tom, probably in 2006, and this is 2020. right? So 14 years later, we're still discussing whether we need two-factor authentication. It is the best security feature that you can probably implement to protect your users. A couple of years ago, I saw an article from a CTO from another company who was making the case that two-factor authentication isn't as safe as we think it is, that it can be breached, and therefore it's ludicrous to make such a fuss about it. Well, I actually got quite upset with the case. I wrote a reply, public reply to him, because sometimes we get twisted around with our technology. And yes, maybe two-factor authentication is perfect. Right? Nothing that a human makes is perfect. And my principle always is that anything made by a human can be broken by a human. So maybe even the multi-factor authentication can easily be broken. Not so easily though. Not as easily as just a password, right? So today, this is the best authentication method we have. There isn't anything better yet. We're working on it, we're studying it. We may do things like facial recognition at some point or whatever. The biometrics didn't really help because it turns out they just write a hash into your computer and the hash can be stolen. So it's really not anything that can be replaced. Right? Myself, I've been very often a victim of attempted attacks against my online passwords. Without multi-factor authentication, I would probably have lost some, I probably would have been hacked more than once, especially on Office 365. So please, if you have it, if your systems support it, use it. If they don't support it, change your systems, especially on connecting to the VPN. It's very important to use it. Okay. One question I'd love to be able to ask everybody, but it becomes confusing. If somebody wants to chat about this, I had a conversation early March with one of my clients specifically on this topic. Should I give my users a company-issued computer? So here my thinking and my reasoning became, okay, your users need to RDP to their workstation remotely. Their workstation is going to be doing most of the work, right? The remote computer, all it needs to do is access it. So you don't really need a $3,000 laptop. You probably need a $500 device. An i5, a Core i5, no graphics, no special graphics, 13, 14 inches, connectivity, and a small disk. Because they shouldn't even be downloading data on that machine anyway, right? So really, we're talking $500 probably, especially if this company in particular needed to buy 50 computers. You call a representative from a company, they'll give you a discount on 50 computers. So we're talking about spending $25,000 to ensure that you can give your users company-issued computers. What does it mean? It means the computers that have your data, your security, your endpoint protection, your policies, they are not an administrator, you are. They can't install software, you can. They're patched. They're just like a replica of the computers they have inside your network, set up with the proper procedures that you already follow inside your network. They're clean and they're safe. Then they connect to a VPN that is not split tunnel. They go through your proxy in your main network. They remain as if they were inside the lab, right? In terms of protection. So you're relatively safe. And this is only $25,000 for a company of 50 people. On contrary, the risk is that these users grab a computer that previously was used by their child, a computer that 85% of them, according to the FBI, 85% of home computers are already compromised in a way or another, whether they're part of a botnet or they have a keylogger installed, or they have any other form of stealth software that has compromised the computer. The risk is enormous. If there is a keylogger installed on the computer,
The user connects to the VPN. 2 seconds later, this user has the password, the hacker has the password, and probably has stolen the certificate and is connecting to it from another place. It isn't really a risk worth running for $500. When the risk really is that you're going to lose the company, right? Because the risk analysis that we used to do even just 10 years ago was more in terms of, if I lose my server, how long does it take me to restore the data? That's no longer the case today. Today, when we talk about risk, we need to consider that if I lose the server, how long will it take before my company goes out of business? That's probably more likely the kind of conversation we need to have. And therefore, when it comes to choosing personal versus company issue, I don't think there should be any doubt anymore that it's not even a conversation. It just do not allow users to ever use their home computers to connect to your network, because you have no idea, no control over what's on the computer. So you have no idea what's coming at you, right? It's bad enough that they probably have to use their wireless at home because they only have one, and they're likely sharing the same wireless connection with a home computer that's probably infected. That's already bad enough as it is. But at least don't ever use that computer to connect to you, right? Okay, I don't see any questions coming, so
we do have one question, Pierluigi. The question is, if you don't have a VPN tunnel, then what other options are there?
Okay, let me start from answering 2 different ways. First of all, the question I have a counter question: why would you not have it? Because a VPN is free, right? It comes with at least it should be. If you are still paying, sorry, with some VPN by some companies still sell VPN connections by the user, by the tier, 50 users, 20 users. It's kind of late with the times. For example, in our case, the VPN is free. It comes with other devices, right? And there's no limit. You set it up, you connect it to Active Directory, so for authentication, you connect it to Google TOTP for two-factor authentication, and that too is free because it's open source, and you don't spend a penny. So why not have the VPN? However, if you're in a condition where you can't have it, don't want to install it, whatever, honestly, the other things I've seen my clients use are things like Citrix. But a Citrix farm is very expensive ordeal, and it's not something you can set up in 2 days. Or things like remote connectivity, like you log me in, go to meeting. But I frankly go to my PC. Sorry, I frankly don't like those solutions. I have not seen other solutions. I can tell you that all of our clients are using VPN. And since I am on the topic of VPN, let me stay on it for a second. I'll go back to the analysis of disaster recovery preparedness that I discussed 15 minutes ago. It was a little frustrating, I have to confess, when at the beginning of March, we sent out an email to all our clients saying, we believe that this is coming, and therefore we warmly invite you to, if you don't have a VPN set up, at least let's set up the basic. Right? Let's set up with the VPN for one person, so that when you have to send everybody home, all you have to do is add them to your LDAP, give them the QR code for the TOTP so they can do two-factor authentication, and it's an easy going. No one listened. I have to say, I didn't get a single reply to the email until finally we got the orders from the governor, from the various governors to work from home, and now everybody wanted it. It was probably the most stressful time my company has ever seen in 17 years, because all hands on, everybody working 20 hours a day, setting up VPNs for the clients. It was a bit of a strange experience. So the reason why I mentioned this, a little bit of planning helps in many ways, right? For us, for example, our company was already set up so everybody could work from home. The moment we decided we're going home, we didn't have to do anything. We just went home and we were working. And that was a nice feeling,
because it didn't take preparation of any kind. Right? Now we have learned the lesson. Let's not go back. Possibly let's move forward. You need to be prepared to the possibility that many of your users need to, even on rotation, need to be working for. And I don't know if I've answered the question correctly. You didn't tell me the name of the gentleman or did ask it. But if I didn't answer, please ask further. Feel free to ask me anytime. This is a little different of the topic from the VPN. It's the access level. And that goes kind of along with the idea of the bring your own computer or use your personal home computer or issue the computer. I know that all of you are financial institutions, credit unions or banks, and therefore between the auditors and the regulators and everything you read for the last 15 years, you have been working on Active Directory and access control in order to ensure that each user has his or her own properly adjusted access level. A teller should only have access to a machine and no admin access privileges. You have no idea the kind of stuff I've seen in 20 years in many companies where nobody cares about setting up Active Directory properly, and everybody's an administrator. It is a disaster waiting to happen, right? So I would hope that this doesn't need to even be said, that all of you have your systems set up in such a way that your users from home only have access to what they need, nothing more. They're not administrators of their computers. They cannot install software without your supervision, and they're locked down as much as possible. Because we all know that if we do anything wrong from this point of view, anything that could possibly happen will happen. Okay? And the only way we have to protect ourselves from that point of view is to do the remote access setup. Sorry, not the remote access at all, just access in general to the network, to the resources of any kind, set up properly. Okay? Earlier, there was a slide where I was talking about the issues that we have seen, and some of them have been about the two of the little squares. Talked about data and backup. If you don't give your users a proper way, the proper procedure, policy to share data with their clients or within the company, they will get creative. And when I say they will get creative, I mean that will cause you a nightmare. They will start creating their own Dropbox account, possibly they don't want to pay for it or get a free one, or some, I don't know. They'll do whatever comes to their mind first. Right? They'll start sending your financial institutions. They'll start sending stuff out attached to the emails that they shouldn't, right? With the private information attached. So it is very important that as a company, you also have a way to give your users the ability to share data properly, whether it is to SharePoint, to Dropbox, because that's what you chose, but it's a company policy and it's a company account that's well protected. It needs to be something that comes from IT department, even when they are home. On the other hand, the connectivity needs to be proper, and that's why I'm such a fan of VPN. Because I've seen situations, even with large companies, where they do the following. They set up, the IT department sets up an SPF record and a DKIM record, because they're trying to ensure that anybody else who receives their emails can probably filter possible fish spoofing from actual legitimate emails. Then they send the user home, and the users are not connected to the network, and these users start sending emails without sending them through their server. So without going through the proper process, and the email comes from a completely different address, right? From an address that's a Comcast home address. And clearly, it gets blocked because it doesn't comply with the SPF policies of the company, that the company set up. So why do I say that? Because it's kind of surprising. This has happened to me. I've seen it happen to me from very large companies that are Fortune 500 that you would expect they should have everything under control. And it was surprising. They can't keep their users under control. All of us belong to a different category of companies. It is very important that we ensure that the users continue to communicate the proper way, right? Their emails should go to your server and go out according to your policies with the proper filtering, and if you have it, proper DLP and encryption, obviously. Because the last thing you need is somebody from home start sending out documents for loan documents with social security numbers in clear text, right? Users are forgetful. That is what we always need to remember. And they gotta get their job done because their money comes and their bills are paid if they close the loan. So at the end of the day, if they can't do anything better, they'll just send it. And we have to deal with the issue. Right? So one consideration I was making the other day, I actually saw a funny tweet on this and it made me think. Imagine if all this happened 20 years ago, when you were lucky if you had a DSL at home with a 256K, and there was the phone I had in 1999, right? We would have had really to sweat it through to get this done. In many, many ways, we should count ourselves lucky that this happened today because we, as IT security and security people, have been preparing in a way, in ways that we weren't preparing for COVID, of course, right? We weren't preparing for everybody working from home, but we were preparing for an open environment where you can work from anywhere, right? And that's what we have today. And what is, I think I went the wrong direction. I apologize for this. My mouse is playing. I'm very sorry. Okay, this is a slide I want. And I'm glad I'm recording. Well, this mess up will be recorded. So today we have unified communications. We have video conference tools like the one we're using now. We have file sharing and teamwork platforms, smartphones, high-speed internet. I am sitting here at home with 600 megabit per second download from Comcast. A dream, right? Even 5 years ago would have been a dream. Unified communication, we've been doing this for 10 years now. Video conferencing tools have come a long way. Right? We are using Zoom today. We were using GoToMeeting before. Somebody else may be using WebEx. A week ago, I was on a conference with a tool I've never seen before, but it was fantastic. Don't even remember the name. There are so many, right? And all of them have fantastic features for usability and for security. From their point of view, if your users are doing this, the one thing I invite to be careful to in terms of security is, I'm sure you've read in the news or somewhere you've heard that Zoom was being attacked. There's something to be said about that, but most of the stuff that was being actually compromised were public meetings where the information of the meeting was being sent publicly on a website. So it was easy to grab the phone number and the meeting ID. But even for those, Zoom has come a long way now by introducing the possibility to have a waiting room where you have to be admitted, the possibility to have passwords that can be distributed privately, and several other security features. They're sending out an update every day. And I mentioned Zoom because it's the one we're using, but these are things that are happening with all the video communication platforms. The reason why I mentioned this is because if you don't have an IT policy where your company should use that tool and should use it that way, and it's something you have analyzed in order to communicate with the proper secure way to use the tool is, again, your users will get creative. They will start using whatever they can. They'll go to join the meet, use it for free, and then they'll go to GoToMeeting and use it for free for a month, whatever, right? Anything like, and it's just not the right way to do things, right? These tools aren't expensive, by the way. If you get business accounts, our role here is to tell our users how to properly use it in a way that is secure, that you don't get bombed by somebody logging into your meeting and listening to all the stuff you're saying, because most of these meetings are probably have to be going to have to be private. You don't want sniffing on the meetings. Right? File sharing, again, we talked about that, but teamwork as well. These are platforms that need to be used properly. They are fantastic platforms. And the reason why I mention all of this is because many of the clients that I've seen, and this is direct experience, didn't need these tools until today. Therefore, didn't have a platform, didn't have a policy even on what tool to use and how to set it up and how to stay secure using it. Okay. So in terms of technology, this is the last slide. It's a slide that sends only one phrase: the cloud is our friend. But I could probably speak on this slide for the next 2 hours. I have been a big proponent of the public cloud for at least 10 years. When I say cloud, I only mean public cloud. All the talk about hybrid, private, virtualization, that's not cloud. Okay? The cloud to me is only AWS, Google, Azure, and the likes. Public cloud where I can go on the browser, click 3 buttons, and get a computer running for me. Okay? Why is it our friend? First of all, our infrastructure in my company, in our company, is completely on the AWS cloud. We don't care that we can't go to the office. We were managing this remotely anyway already, so we manage it from home, right? It made 0 difference for us. The fact that we don't need to go physically anywhere because it's there. They're taking care of it. Right? So from a security, a safety standpoint, if you will, the fact that we don't have to be in an environment surrounded by other people at the beginning. Now maybe things are getting better, but in March, April, when we were told to stay in isolation, having all the servers in the cloud was the best thing we've ever done. We didn't have to worry about it at all. Right? Every one of us now connects remotely to the cloud. Right? So that system never goes down. And it's full of redundancies and backups. And I don't have to worry at 3 in the morning that my users can't connect or my clients can't connect. I don't have to worry about backups. Take snapshots, copy them from Virginia to Oregon twice a day. And in our case, it's sufficient. In your case, it may not be sufficient. There are other tools that you can adopt. There are tools that are free. There are tools that you can pay for, but there are a lot of tools, right? And in terms of security, the old idea that the cloud is not safe is entirely wrong, especially today. The reason why the cloud is considered that was not safe was a misunderstanding of whose responsibility it is to handle the security of the cloud. Right? AWS handles the safety of your hardware. You can't get into their data centers. They are DoD security compliant. Right? You need to be identified. You need all kinds of proper badges and biometrics. It's not easy to get in there. I can't get in there, right? Even though I'm a their client. But anything else, it's my responsibility. They don't give me a firewall. They give me something that they call security groups, where it's more of to protect themselves than to protect me. Right? But so I know that they don't give me any security, and therefore, when I moved my servers to the cloud, we adopted proper security. In our case, it's easy because it's our security is our job, and NetBox is our product. So all we had to do is spawn a bunch of NetBoxes. That's not your job, of course. Then you may go choose. You may have to choose what device, what software, what vendor to use. But all you have to know is treat it as your DMZ or as your LAN. Again, right? Treat it as there is no security. You need to put something in front of it. And when I say something in front of it, I don't mean just a firewall. I need also a complete security. I mean also an IPS. And if you have web servers, I mean a WAF. But if you do it properly, the cloud, the public cloud is the most secure thing today. To the point that according to a report that Gartner issued in August of 2019 last year,
the future is completely in the cloud in terms of both networking, not only hardware, servers, but also networking and the security. Security is moving to the cloud and is more and more being delivered through the cloud, right? And the connectivity to the cloud makes your life a lot easier. All of our clients who are using our SD-WAN with the cloud-based software secure web server, secure web gateway, and firewall as a service, going from home or working from the office has made zero difference, except for need to put more people on the VPN. For other than that, has made zero difference. And some of them also have adopted AWS for themselves or Azure for themselves. That's even better because they don't even have servers to deal with. So they don't have to worry about having to drive to the office or having to understand how the security of that piece goes versus the security of the other piece. So not only do not be afraid of the cloud, but do consider that the cloud is no longer not even the future anymore. The cloud is today, is the present, it's here to stay. And I read this on Gartner, I agree with them. I was thinking of this before I even saw it there. We are seeing a world where people work from anywhere, including from home, connected to this thing out there that you can pinpoint that we call the cloud. The cloud isn't something to be scared of. It's today something to embrace because it will literally make your life easier. Okay. Nur, do we have any other questions in the meantime? No?
No, we do not.
All right, then I will continue. I want to change a little bit the subject, still talking about working from home and safety, security. However, I want to shift from the purely technical, because in my position, I have, in a way, I have the fortune of being able to see both the technical aspects of what we do and the business aspect, if you mean the people's aspect of what we do. And I noticed that we technical people very often tend to ignore the business and people aspect. We are only concerned with installing firewalls, setting up policies and procedures that our users hate, and then yelling at our users when they don't comply with what we say, even if it's not physically yelling, but getting clearly frustrated with them. And it's not the right approach. Right? In terms of, yes, this is a conversation about working from home, but working from home has exacerbated some things that already are happening inside the offices. Right? People from home are working at home are experiencing things like loneliness and isolation. Managers, allow me this expression, are freaking out because they can't know what their users are doing, what their reports are doing. And so they are fretting to understand, are they actually producing? Are they actually working? Are they going, running and walking the dog instead of being at the computer? So in managers that end up, that were normal, I shouldn't say normal, good managers that used to delegate and allow people their space and to do their job, all of a sudden end up being micromanaging them, trying to micromanage other people because they fear what else is going on. Okay? So why do I mention this? Why is it my responsibility? You're probably wondering, I'm an IT guy, who cares? Right? I'm a security person. Why would I care about this? We do because we have tools that we can provide. And yes, for us, it always comes down to tools because at the end of the day, we are technology people. But it comes down to tools we can provide. We can work with the business. We can work with HR. We can work with anybody else in the business in order to provide tools that can at least lessen some of the burden. Right? If a manager is able to stay on team with these people more often, if he's able to communicate with them better, because we have unified communications, we have adopted Microsoft Teams, we have shared file, whatever the tool is, right?
and we have done things properly and safely, they may not feel the need to micromanage everybody because they will know that things are getting done, right? And there are tools that allow for this kind of communications. And on the other hand, a user that feels the burnout, I was reading the other day about tools that will actually literally pop up something on the screen that say, you got to take a 5-minute break. Because in the office, that kind of stuff happens naturally. You're working, then somebody comes by, they chat, you chat, maybe you go grab a cup of water at the cooler, at the water cooler, and it happened. The interruptions are not necessarily unhealthy. It is healthy to get your head off the computer once in a while and go chat with another human being. When you're home alone with 3 children screaming and 2 cats running on your keyboard, it can really burn you out. It can become really stressful. So, can we help? There are tools, and you can research them. I didn't put them in the presentation because it's not a presentation about those tools. I'm just inviting you to consider that there are tools that as IT people can help. And obviously, we need to be the ones adopting them for the company, because we need to investigate the possible security implications of such things. Okay? Especially those that imply communications, that imply file sharing, that imply team group work, and any other form of communication. This is one thing that most users are complaining about today, and I'm not sure that this is something we can easily resolve with tools other than with a lot of goodwill. That when they have a problem, they doesn't easily get resolved. We deal with people that don't do technology. Right? I have heard from one of my clients last week that one of his users took the laptop from the office to the house and called him upset because she couldn't connect. And after an hour of investigation, he realized that this user didn't have internet at home, and she was convinced that the laptop was the internet. I'm sure any of us has had such experience before. Okay? This is another note of something that happened to me last week that I heard that didn't happen to me from an existing client, but things of this nature have happened before. We're dealing with new problems. We're dealing with users that are now on their own. And when before they could just pick up the phone and we run to the room, 2 minutes, 2 seconds, we fix the problem and go away. Now it's an ordeal, and it takes a lot of patience. But it's part of our job, and we need to be done. We need to do it because, again, it's not going away. So we need to start looking for tools that will allow us to monitor these devices and be more prompt in providing support, right? I know of a lot of tools. Some of them we actually sell them as well. By the way, I'm not here to advertise anything. Where we can monitor what is happening on those computers. Are you not concerned that you have 50 computers in homes around Houston or around the U.S. wherever your home base is, that you have no longer any control of? When they were inside your LAN, you have tools, you have some monitoring software, you probably have a CM. You have all kinds of stuff to keep a close eye on every event that happens inside the network. All of a sudden, somebody took your network away and shoved it into pieces in 50 different homes. And you have no idea what's going on. If you are if you're responsible for the security of your network, you've got to be freaking out right now, right? So there are tools, and you don't have to be concerned. You need to investigate what are the best tools and ensure that your management understands the potential risks and therefore the need for budget to buy these tools. Some of them are like $50 per year per computer. They're cheap, right? Is it worth the price? Yes, it is, because they will send you alerts every time there is a potential new thing. Like this user plugged in a USB. This user downloaded a 5 gigabyte file. This user did some logged on, logged off 5 times in a minute. Things that you would know when you're in the office, but you no longer know when these people you're using them. Okay. One last chart. We are available for that is my link if you want to set up a conversation with me, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour to better understand what we do and how we can help. We are available also for free consultation, all of us. Even just to go over what you're doing today and tell you you're doing fantastic. It doesn't really matter for us. It's a way to help and to provide goodwill to our existing clients. Noor, do we have any questions?
No, we don't.
Does anyone have any questions? Please, do you want to open the mics? If you want, maybe they can just ask the questions directly. Okay, if nobody has any questions, then it's almost 2 p.m. It's been almost an hour. My throat is getting dry. So I close the conversation right now, and you have our contacts. Actually, there's one last slide where you can see all of our contacts. I don't know where it went. My computer. This one. This is the last slide with our phone number and contacts, and all the ways you get in touch. You can get in touch with us. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sticking with me until the end, and for attending this conversation. We will be back in 2 weeks to talk more about the subject of the cloud and the CM and how the cloud is your friend with something called the SASE, S-A-S-E. It's all the rage these days, even though it's not there yet in terms of what Gartner says, where Gartner says it should be. So we will make the point of where we are today on that technology, what companies are offering, what NetWatch offers, and where the future is going in terms of security for a world that has no LAN anymore, or almost. Thank you very much for everybody. Have a good day.